So, hello everybody. I am Angie, as you may know, Angie Blanchard, and Leah had tasked me with making a video regarding the book I'm reading. She had mentioned the book White Fragility. That's actually not the book I'm reading. It's called Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. This book actually apparently started as an Instagram challenge, and before that it was a blog post directed at spiritual white women. So that's me. And what she had to say in a nutshell was that after the Charlottesville white supremacist alt-right march that had occurred a couple years ago, she was fearful and triggered by those images of young men carrying those tiki torches, and that was scary. But she was saying that in the spiritual community, women that kind of say like, oh, just high vibes only and love and light and I love everybody, are not only not helpful when it comes to dismantling or racism, but actually are harmful in their silence, refusal to speak, crickets when somebody says something inappropriate or offensive, and out of politeness and love and light, oftentimes people don't speak, and really it's out of fear, right? And really it's out of shame. I think that we probably know that. So that spiritual bypassing is a cover for what she talks about as white fragility. So this book is about white supremacy in that it is a system and an ideology that we are born into. In fact, a global ideology, really, but in the United States, we are born into it, we are indoctrinated into it, institutionalized in it, because it's in our schools, it's in our government, it's in our workplaces, and even if it's not in your home, like it was not in my home, in fact, it was just preached against, really, our education has been incomplete by design on this matter. So this book is about personal work, and it's about really taking that deep dive into self-reflection and starting from a place of really, you do have biases if you came up in the system, unless you just got here like you're an alien or something. But so I think it was important for myself to start from that place. Like, I'm going to find things, and I'm actually going to look for them and not just gloss over and, do the spiritual bypassing that she was talking about. So one of the first things that she had mentioned was about privilege, and specifically white privilege. So she broke down privilege into subcategories, such as what she called whiteness, the perception of whiteness, or being adjacent to white people, or what she called passing as white. And she also talked about gender. So if you are male, that is a privilege, cisgendered, economic privilege, sexual orientation as a privilege, and able-bodied or able-minded or without some kind of disability as a privilege. So to me, when I check a lot of those boxes, that indicates to me that I have a responsibility to assist in speaking out and helping to dismantle the system by any means that I am able to. So this book kind of comes with a trigger warning that it might bring up some emotions, some conflicting emotions like shame, guilt, fear, anger. For me, not the book in particular, but this time period has been heavy. So there have been times where I had to stop listening to the book and stop looking at the news and just take care of myself, but also recognizing that in and of itself is the privilege to be able to say, not today, when individuals aren't able to say that when they are, you can't take off your skin, is what I'm trying to say. So I felt a lot of grief, I have to say, is probably the main thing, because there are many people in my life that I love that are affected by this, and so it feels very heavy. And to know that I am by birth complicit in this system it's heavy. And so what that really comes back to, though, again, is it's nothing compared to the actual experience of living it. So I can say that the book wasn't particularly triggering for me because I'm not particularly new to this kind of work, and I have been purposely, since I became an adult, surrounding myself with different types of people, seeking out different types of experiences, and putting myself outside of my comfort zone and my bubble, because that's always been very rewarding for me and enriching and educational for me to do that. And it's made me a better person, basically. But what I had started to notice was, a long time ago really, but that despite growing up just a few miles from the city, I grew up at 10 Mile in Van Dyke, my school really did not have very many black kids in it, and my friends group, looking back, was actually more diverse than the school itself. But still, we were kept apart. That 8 Mile border might as well have been a border wall. And also the education was, sanitized and whitewashed, if you will. Things were excluded from our history lessons, and there are a lot of things I don't know, I'm sure. In my home, things were taught a little bit more like, no, this is actually how it was, and I'm actually grateful for that. So it wasn't until I went to Wayne State that I had experiences with more people of color, and experiences where maybe I was the only person that looked like me in my classroom. And not only was I around more students, but I was around more educators and influential people in the community. So I wanted to share a story about what white fragility is and what it isn't, and where I think it comes from. So basically, I had moved to North Dakota, and again, not a very diverse place, but I worked in a newsroom, and newsrooms are often can be more diverse than even the population that they served. So it was there that I developed a friendship with a black woman for the first time. And not only did we work 60 hours a week together, but we hung out on the weekends. We spent holidays together because everyone was from somewhere else other than North Dakota. We met each other's families when they came to visit. We went on road trips. So it was a deep friendship. But I'm gonna skip the details for the sake of time. But I ended up offending her. And it was through a combination of things. What had happened in public was somebody else said something stupid to her and ignorant and offensive, and myself not really being assertive but wanting to help and wanting to protect my friend, because we were in a group of only white people, and wanting to say something to this guy that had offended her, but also being leery of upsetting the male ego at the time. I was 21, I wasn't very assertive. So I contributed to it. I said something awkward and stupid and ignorant, and trying to dissolve that tension. But a couple days later, she kind of pulled me aside at work and she said, listen, like, I know what your intention was, but I have a rule: when something bothers me for more than 24 hours, I have to say something about it. And she basically told me about what I had said and how it had made her feel. And it's in that moment where we have a decision to make, and this is where white fragility comes into play. So because our education is so incomplete, if we have one at all, we're basically taught racism is bad. It's the overt racism. Those are the bad people. It's shameful. Don't be like them. And it kind of came down to like not using a very offensive word. And so if you didn't do that, you weren't one of those people. And so this cognitive dissonance happens in our brains where we're like, well, I'm not the bad people. I'm not the shameful people. I can't possibly be one of those people. And that's really unhelpful, and I think it's preventing a lot of us from being willing to look inside and moving forward. So I was presented with that opportunity, and honestly, I was mortified that I had offended my friend. And so I said, I'm so sorry, and apologized to her. And I didn't try to defend myself. I listened to her, and I was willing, even though there's this part of me in my brain was like, but my intentions. Well, we all know about the road to hell and how it's paved. So really the most important part is to listen to people, to take them seriously. Do not invalidate their experiences or their emotions. I learned so much from her that day. I appreciated her being assertive and talking to me and valuing our friendship enough to say, you did something that hurt me. And so put that shame aside, I would say. It's not helpful. It's not helpful in your growth and evolution, but it's also not helpful to people that we claim to love and care about who are affected by that. So that shame, that discomfort, that silence is contributing to atrocities against people that we came to love. And especially now as a spiritual woman who understands that right down to the energy we share and the way we are created, all of us in the divine image of love, that she literally is a part of me and I am a part of her. And so we really need to do that deep work on an individual level, I do believe. So I would recommend this book. It's a workbook. It asks you to journal. It asks you to dive deep. Things have come up and I really have to go, is there something in there? Is there any truth to that? I mean, I'm really digging in there. And not only is it going to make me a better person, but it's going to make our society, our consciousness better. So, thank you.